Hello, everybody. I hope you're well. I am Sayan Dey from the city of Kolkata in West Bengal, India, and currently I am working as a faculty in Bayan College in Oman. Today, I'm going to share some insights about the relationship between food habits, climate change, and cultural heritage. Usually, when we talk about food habits, our tendencies are to restrict our conversations within the biological and sensorial perspectives. In other words, we usually will talk about taste, smell, the touch of the food, about health, about hygiene, about digestion, and several other intertwined perspectives. However, it is essential for us to remember that there is a deep connection between food habits along with cultural practices, cultural heritage, and climate transformations. To further illustrate that, let me give you a small example. A traditional food item called panta bhat, which is very rooted from the state of West Bengal, where I come from. Now, in West Bengal, widely in the city of Kolkata, the climatic conditions are extremely hot and humid, which obviously requires people to remain hydrated to ensure dehydration and other forms of health challenges, especially at the time of the summer season. Therefore, rice is boiled, soaked in water overnight, and next day it is consumed. And that is basically referred to as panta bhat. Panta bhat is a Bengali word. Panta means soaked, wet, and bhat, that is rice. Now, basically, this item is consumed in two ways. Either the rice and the water is consumed together by tempering it with green chilies, dry spices, freshly squeezed lemon, and cilantro leaves, or the water is segregated from the rice and then it is consumed as a health drink. Now, this climatic influence is also very much connected to the cultural heritage that contributed towards the evolution of this consumption practice of panta bhat. Now, we have to remember, especially at the time of India-Bangladesh partition, India-Pakistan partition, especially India-Bangladesh partition, when Bengal was actually divided into two parts, East Bengal and West Bengal, then eventually East Bengal became East Pakistan and then eventually Bangladesh. At that point of time, there were a lot of refugees moving from one side of the state to another. Now, at that point of time, obviously, at the time of refugee crisis, we have to understand that the communities who were forced to move from one location to another due to the communal and the cultural conflicts, they were in an extremely financially dilapidated state. Now, under those circumstances, it is needless to say that for them, it wouldn't have been possible to afford objects like refrigerators or any kind of modern amenities of preserving their food. So in those circumstances, they have to resort to prepare food items that without using any sort of technological preservation methods, the food will not get rot. And that is how one of the reasons, panta bhat emerged. And also it's a very commonly consumed food in the geographically rural parts of the state as well, because in those parts, expecting refrigerators in homes is quite a challenging task. And therefore, in order to prevent their rice to get rotten, often the rice is soaked overnight, and then before the farmers would go to the field to work, they would consume that rice, because that rice with water or even without water will help them to not only keep themselves hydrated and tackle the extreme levels of heat and humidity, but at the same time, it also keeps their body calm and cool, and most importantly, very healthy and energetic. Apart from these items, there are also many other food items like millets, which are again interestingly well suited for extremely dry and hot regions, especially drought-prone regions. And nowadays, especially over the last decades, we can say that India is undergoing a millet revolution in order to overcome food crisis in the drought-prone areas where millet cafes are being constructed, and more the consumption practices are directed towards millet by mixing millet with other kinds of sustainable crops and making it a part of the daily consumption practices. Thank you so much. I'll stop here, and we hope that we will continue with the conversation over some other point of time.